The 5 biggest herbivores of the Ice Age. 5. American zebra. It was long believed that horses were first introduced to North America by Spanish settlers in the 16th century, but archaeological evidence has rewritten that history. It's now clear that indigenous horses roamed North America for 55 million years before going extinct along with other Ice Age megafauna roughly 10,000 years ago. One of the oldest and most widespread ancient horse species in North America was the American zebra, Equus simplicidens, also known as the Hagerman horse. The American zebra is the oldest known member of the genus Equus, which includes all modern horses, both wild and domesticated. In both appearance and genetics, the American zebra is most closely related to the modern zebra. The American zebra stood around 5 feet tall at the shoulders, had a stocky build, and faint stripes along its neck and flank. Around 2 to 3 million years ago, herds of American horses traveled west over the land bridge into Asia, eventually spreading to Africa. Those ancient horses were the distant ancestors of the domesticated horses that the Spanish reintroduced to North America 500 years ago. 4. Camelops. The very first camels on the planet evolved in North America around 44 million years ago. Those ancient camels migrated westward over the Bering Land Bridge around 7 million years ago, later becoming the one-humped, dromedary, and two-humped, Bactrian camels of North Africa and Asia. Other ancient species of North American camels migrated south and became the llamas and alpacas of South America. One of the most widespread camel species in Ice Age North America was the camelops, Camelops hesternus, or yesterday's camel. This two-toed, furry camel stood 7 feet tall at its shoulders, weighed 1,800 pounds, and had no hump at all. The camelops could travel long distances on its long and lean legs, but it's not clear if they could survive long periods without water like modern camels. 3. Giant beaver. The giant beaver of Ice Age North America was the largest rodent to ever live. It measured up to 7 feet long, weighed more than 250 pounds, and its 2 front teeth, incisors, were as long as bananas. Although similar in appearance to modern beavers, with oversized front teeth and a flat tail, the giant beaver is more closely related to the capybara of South America. The incisors and molars of the giant beaver were rounded and blunt, lacking the power and precision to fell large trees, and their brains were relatively smooth, a sign that they weren't intelligent enough to construct dams. Why then do they have the same kind of giant teeth? Asks Fidel. Maybe they're eating bark or tree pith but not doing anything with the wood that they chop down. Let's just say nobody has found a giant beaver dam. 2. Giant ground sloths. Today, sloths are molasses-moving tree dwellers roughly the size of a dog. But in Ice Age North America, sloths were an entirely different beast. The giant ground sloths of the late Pleistocene were bear-sized herbivores that stood 12 feet on their hind legs and weighed up to 3,000 pounds. One giant sloth species, the Jefferson ground sloth, Megalonyx jeffersoni, was named for Thomas Jefferson, who initially believed that sloth fossils were a type of colossal cat that he dubbed the Megalonyx, giant claw. Like modern sloths, these huge ground sloths were probably slow, awkward walkers with some species shuffling on the curled-in ankles of their hind legs. Ground sloths also had elongated claws like modern sloths, which they would have used to strip leaves and dig for roots. DNA analysis indicates that all extinct North American ground sloths, including the massive Harlan's ground sloth, originated in South America and migrated north along with ancient opossums and armadillos. North and South America were separated until around 2 million years ago when the Isthmus of Panama emerged, says Fidel. Most mammals migrated north to south, but sloths came the other way. In some periods, there were giant ground sloths as far north as Alaska. 1. Mammoth and mastodon. The woolly mammoth, Mammuthus primigenius, is one of the most famous extinct Ice Age megafauna. Standing 12 feet tall at the shoulders and weighing 6 to 8 tons, the woolly mammoth grazed the northern steppes of Ice Age North America using its colossal 15-foot curved tusks to dig under the snow for food and defend itself against predators. but fossil evidence shows there were at least 4 distinct species of massive elephant-like animals that called North America home in the late Pleistocene. The American mastodon, Mammoth americanum, is the most ancient of the North American elephants. Its ancestors crossed the Bering Strait from Asia roughly 15 million years ago and evolved into the American mastodon 3.5 million years ago. The mastodon was shorter and stockier than the later mammoths, and the shape of its teeth indicate that mastodons didn't graze on grass like mammoths, but ripped off leaves and entire tree branches for food. Mammoths came to North America much later in 2 waves. Around 1.5 million years ago, a mammoth called Mammuthus meridionalis crossed the Bering Land Bridge and branched into 2 distinct mammoth species, the relatively hairless Columbian mammoth, Mammuthus columbi, and the Jeffersonian mammoth, Mammuthus jeffersonii. Then, as recently as 500,000 years ago, the woolly mammoth arrived. Mammoths spread everywhere in Ice Age North America, ranging from Canada down to Honduras. Nearly all mammoths and mastodons were wiped out in the great megafauna extinction 10,000 years ago. But archaeologists have dug up remains showing that lone bands of mammoths still roamed Arctic islands as recently as 4,500 years ago. There were mammoths living down to the time when the Egyptians were building the pyramids, says Fidel.